Minister, first of all, I hope you know I don't do personal, okay? And my comments weren't in any way personalised. I know you've good taste in music, and I know you understand the plight of the musicians. But the reason I use the word betray is because there are a number of groups who, along with everybody else, bought in, as the vast majority in society did, really bought in to we're all in it together. And in doing that, they protected our society from COVID-19 overrunning our health services and save lives. The stakes were high. And everybody, and I include in this you, the government, and everybody else, the opposition, everybody bought into that we're all in it together principle. To some extent set aside differences and accepted the hardship of the lockdown, the mental stress of the lockdown, the income loss that many, many suffered, because they really said, yes, we are all in this together. But what is happening now is that particular groups who made as much effort as anybody else are being left behind. That's what I mean by betrayed. They're being forgotten about. And if I sound a bit desperate, Minister, it is because I and others have been raising those particular groups for weeks, and it is now 2 days before it all breaks up. And they do not know what they're going to do. Some people have certainty about what they're going to do over the summer, what their income is going to be, what the roadmap for the future months is going to be. They have some degree of certainty, although none of us have any total certainty because the virus is in many ways controlling our future at the moment. But there's some roadmap. But these sectors, despite asking the government again and again, including presenting their case at the COVID committee, which I fought to get them into the COVID committee, have presented their case. You have not responded. And even in your own reply there, Minister, and I know you understand, but you didn't reply, you have not responded to the specific requests that they have made. I acknowledge, by the way, and I did, you were wrong to say I didn't acknowledge this in my speech, Minister. In my speech, I said that the wage subsidy scheme was a good scheme insofar as it sought to maintain the relationship between employer and employee. Okay, I said that. I accept it. What I do not accept is why you will not extend the income subsidy scheme or something similar in this bill to these particular groups of people who cannot return to work through no fault of their own and whose employment and income has been decimated as a result of the public health measures that the government have imposed, and indeed which they support for the most part. And that is the question. You know what Mary Coughlin said to me on the phone before this, right? This is just sums up the dilemma. And I really would like you to actually answer the specifics here, Minister, because I'm talking substance, not politics here. Mary Coughlin, who, as I told you, was earning €20,000 before COVID, not a very modest income, was then on the 350 payment as a result of COVID because all 35 of her gigs were gone, has been cut down to the 203 figure, and recently she's been offered a few gigs in reduced venues out in, for example, the Mermaid, okay? But there's only 70 in a venue that used to take 300. Do you know what the dilemma is for her? If she takes that gig, which won't nearly recover her income, she loses her payment. Is she actively seeking work if she says no to that gig? Answer, that's the question that needs to be answered. If she says no to that gig, you could accuse her on the current situation of not actively seeking work. If she takes that gig, she loses her payment. Now that's not right, Minister. Okay? And it's the same for the taxi driver. The taxi driver who maybe should be cocooning, who's afraid to go back out and work, but has now had their payment cut. So they're going out working in the taxi. There's no proper guidelines from the NTA about safety in taxis. They are not allowed. They're still excluded. After weeks of pleading, they are excluded from all the grants. All the grants. Yeah.
Put a motion at this point. I'll come back to you. I just want
you will come back to me.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting you, but I need to put a motion at this point. The Chief Whip is and the motion is in relation to the appointment of ordinary members to the Houses of the Oireachtas Commission, and I'm calling on the Government Chief Whip, Deputy Jack Chambers, to move the motion.
I move.
Move the motion. Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you. Thank you for your cooperation. Now I'll go back to you, Deputy.
Yeah, and I don't want to drag this out, Minister, but what I'd like, and sorry, it's not what I'd like, right, because I'm not in this position, and none of us in this room are. But those taxi drivers, 23,000 of them and their family, and, 30 or 40,000 at least, musicians, crew, theatre practitioners, artists, performers and so on of various kinds, they want an answer before the summer, Minister. Mary Coughlin wants the answer, should she take the gig in the Mermaid? Can you answer it? And we've been looking for answers for weeks on this. It's not as if it's like new. Now you need to give them the answers. Why are they not included in the groups of people who can benefit from the income subsidy in the definitions of this section? And I am talking to this section. I sought to put an amendment into this section to include this group, and the amendment was ruled out of order, again for reasons I do not understand. They should be included. Now, at this stage, because this bill is guillotined to ram through to make sure that everyone can get off on their holidays next week, it would seem we can't do anything about it. But if you at least said, no, we're going to do something here. We are going to give them a basic minimum income above and beyond which they can earn stuff without losing that. In the same way as you are now doing for thousands of employers around the country. That's what you're doing for them. They get the subsidy, they're allowed to earn, and at a certain point it'll be tapered off, right? Nobody's asking for a handout here, they're just asking for a floor below which they won't fall. And in the case of some people, they're being asked that they won't be whipped into working in unsafe conditions, where it might actually be a threat to their health and to public health. These are reasonable asks, Minister. They're asking for some of the grant schemes to be made available. Because they're not rateable and they're not registered for VAT, they don't qualify for the schemes, even though they have the overheads. So would you please respond to these specific things? And I wouldn't sound so desperate, and my desperation is nothing compared to the desperation that these people are feeling. So that is the request. And let's just make one last point, Minister. A lot of these people didn't even ask to be in this position. An awful lot of people who work in the arts would love to be directly employed, like a very small number are in the Abbey Theatre, but there's only so many jobs in the Abbey Theatre. Right? Or maybe if we had a proper national film industry, like we used to have before we privatised all the studios, some of these people would have direct jobs and they would actually be on the wage subsidy scheme. Some of them have been forced into being self-reliant, and then they are punished for that fact. So, Minister, genuinely, I'm not trying to be personal, but on behalf of these people who are desperate, who are worried, who are suffering mental anguish, real mental anguish, could you please give them some hope that you're going to respond to them before this all finishes up for the summer?